There is a moment that happens once, maybe twice, in the early life of a real connection, and most men let it pass without understanding what just occurred. She tells you something, not a fact about her day, not small talk, but something that clearly cost her something to say. Her voice changes slightly. There's a pause before the sentence, the kind of pause that signals she's deciding whether to actually go through with it. And then she does. She hands you a piece of herself that she does not hand to most people. And you might respond well in that moment, or you might not even fully register what just happened. Because what most people don't realize is that there is a specific category of disclosure, a specific thing a woman shares, that functions as one of the clearest, most reliable signals of deep emotional investment that exists. Not flirtation, not interest. Something closer to love in its early, still forming stage. And once you understand what it is and why it matters this much, you will never miss it again. But you also need to understand what it costs her to give it to you, because if you handle it carelessly, you may never see it offered again. Stay with me here. To understand why this particular kind of sharing matters so much, you have to understand something fundamental about how human beings protect themselves. We are, by nature, selective about our vulnerability. From childhood onward, most of us learn, often through painful experience, that revealing too much of our inner world to the wrong person leads to being hurt, dismissed, or used against ourselves later. So we build a kind of internal filtering system, a hierarchy of disclosure. Surface things go to almost everyone. Slightly deeper things go to friends. And then there is a final, innermost layer, the things we tell almost no one, the experiences and fears and private truths that exist mostly in silence because handing them to someone else feels like handing them a weapon. What most people don't realize is that when a woman shares from that innermost layer, she is not simply being open. She is making a decision, often without fully articulating it even to herself, that you belong in a category most people never reach. This is where things become interesting. The specific thing that reveals genuine, deep emotional investment is when she shares something she has not fully resolved. Not a story she tells comfortably, the way you might recount an old memory you've processed and integrated and can discuss without much feeling attached. This is different. This is a story, a fear, a wound that is still raw enough that telling it requires her to actually feel something while she's telling it, not simply report on something she felt long ago. Think about it. There is a profound difference between someone telling you they had a difficult childhood as a factual statement and someone telling you about a specific moment in that childhood where you can hear, in real time, that the telling itself is bringing something back up in her. The first is information. The second is exposure. And exposure of that kind does not happen accidentally, and it does not happen with people who feel unsafe. Now, we move deeper. There is a reason unresolved disclosure carries this much weight, and it has to do with what psychologists understand about emotional safety and the nervous system. When something painful or shameful remains unprocessed, the body treats it as a kind of live wire. Touching it, even verbally, produces a measurable physiological response: increased heart rate, a change in breathing, a bracing, almost protective quality in how the words come out. This is not something a person can consciously override. It is the body's honest signal that what is being shared still matters, still hurts, still has the power to affect her in the present moment, not just as a memory of the past. And here is the deeper truth. A person will only allow themselves to feel that exposed in front of someone they have unconsciously assessed as safe enough to witness it. The nervous system does not extend that kind of trust casually. It extends it only after a person has gathered enough evidence, usually through repeated small interactions, that you are not going to flinch, judge, minimize, or use what she's giving you. When she shares something unresolved with you, she has already run that internal assessment, likely many times over, and concluded that you pass. We'll come back to what happens after she shares it. But before we go there, consider what specifically tends to be inside this category of disclosure. It often includes the moments she has never fully forgiven herself for. A mistake she made that she still carries some shame about. A relationship that ended in a way that left a wound she has not entirely closed. A fear about herself, about her worth, about whether she is capable of being loved the way she wants to be loved, that she has never said out loud to anyone. It sometimes includes family dynamics that are complicated and painful, the kind of thing that doesn't fit neatly into a casual conversation, that requires context and patience and a willingness on your part to simply sit with discomfort rather than immediately trying to fix it or move past it. Imagine this. She is telling you about something that happened years ago, but as she speaks, her voice catches slightly, or she looks away for a moment, or there's a pause where she's clearly deciding how much further to go. That hesitation is not awkwardness. It is the visible evidence of a wound being touched in real time. And the fact that she is willing to let you witness that hesitation, rather than smoothing over it the way she likely does with almost everyone else in her life, is the actual signal you should be paying attention to. What happens next is important because how you respond in this moment determines whether this kind of sharing happens again. Most men, without meaning to, make one of two mistakes when they receive this kind of disclosure. The first mistake is trying to fix it immediately, offering solutions, perspective, advice, before she has even finished feeling what she came to share. This response, though well-intentioned, communicates something unintended. It tells her that her pain is a problem to be resolved rather than an experience to be witnessed. And in that moment, what she needed was not a solution. She needed someone to simply be present with her while she felt something difficult without rushing her through it. The second mistake is minimizing, often out of discomfort rather than malice, saying something like, "That's not so bad," or "You've gotten past it," clearly, in an attempt to reassure her. But minimizing someone's pain, even gently, even with good intentions, tells them that what they shared was too much, that they should not have brought this particular weight into the room. And once a woman receives that message, even subtly, she recalibrates. She learns quietly and without saying so that this particular door should stay closed around you in the future. This is where things become interesting. The right response, the one that actually deepens what is happening between you, is almost disarmingly simple. It is presence without agenda. It is staying in the discomfort of what she's sharing without trying to escape it through advice or reassurance or humor. It is saying simply, "That makes sense," or "Thank you for telling me that," and then continuing to listen rather than redirecting the conversation toward resolution. What most people don't realize is that the most powerful thing you can offer someone in a moment of real disclosure is not wisdom. It is your undivided, unhurried attention. Now we arrive at the deepest layer of what this entire conversation has been building toward. Here is the thing about unresolved disclosure that changes everything you thought you understood about this topic. The reason it functions as such a clear sign of deep feeling is not actually about the content of what she shares. It is about what the sharing represents. When a woman hands you something she has not fully processed, something still capable of producing real feeling in the present moment, she is doing something far more significant than informing you about her past. She is testing in the most vulnerable way available to her whether you are someone she can be unfinished in front of. Think about what that actually means. Most relationships, even good ones, operate on a kind of implicit agreement to present our more resolved, more composed selves to each other. We share our triumphs, our funny stories, the parts of our history we've made peace with. What we rarely share, except with the people who matter most, are the parts that are still in progress. The wounds still healing, the fears not yet resolved, the shame not yet released. Allowing someone to see you in that unfinished state requires a level of trust that simply does not extend to casual connections. The deeper truth is that when she shares something unresolved with you, she is not asking you to love the polished version of her. She is showing you the raw material and trusting that you will not turn away from it. And that trust, offered specifically and deliberately to you rather than to the dozens of other people in her life, is one of the purest expressions of deep feeling that exists. It is more honest than any declaration. It is more telling than any grand romantic gesture. Because gestures can be calculated, performed, strategically timed, genuine vulnerability, the kind that still trembles slightly in the telling, cannot be faked convincingly, and it is never given carelessly. So the question this conversation began with, "What does she share that proves she loves you?" was always slightly the wrong question, because love at this early stage is not proven through a single dramatic disclosure. It is revealed gradually through her willingness to keep being unfinished in front of you over and over, trusting each time that you will meet that vulnerability with steadiness rather than retreat. The real question, the one that actually matters here, is this. When she hands you the unresolved parts of herself, are you someone capable of simply being present with them without needing to fix, minimize, or escape what you're being shown? Because that capacity, your ability to sit with someone's unfinished pain without flinching, is what determines whether she keeps trusting you with it. And that ongoing trust, renewed again and again in small, vulnerable moments, is what real love is actually built from. Not the single, dramatic confession. The quiet, repeated choice to keep being honest with you, because you have shown her every time before that it was safe to be. If this opened something for you, there is much more to explore. Stay close.